Ever get so completely in the zone like you're a kid again? And like somebody's trying to tell you, no, no, there's a better way to do that. And you're like, no, but I just want to do this.
Yeah,
That's what we're looking at today.
totally.
That tension between following your own path, doing your own thing, but also like learning from those who've gone before you, right?
Yeah.
But we're looking at it through the lens of artistic style today.
Yeah.
So we're diving into excerpts from this personal reflection that was originally written in Chinese.
Mm.
And it uses these really interesting analogies to explore this whole idea.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's really cool about this piece is how the author uses the image of a playground to represent creative exploration.
Oh, interesting.
So each swing set, each slide, those are like different artistic styles, different ways of expressing yourself.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And you get to kind of try them out and see what fits, what feels right.
Yeah. And I like how it uses that really visceral feeling of being a kid, because I think that's when we're most in touch with that. Just like, this is what I want to do, you know?
Absolutely.
And the author even uses this phrase, like, go, I just want to play on that slide.
Yeah.
Like, leave me alone. That's the one I want.
And you can just feel that intensity, right? Like when you're so drawn to something.
Yeah. Like you just know.
Yeah.
What about you? Was there anything growing up where you were just like, that's the thing?
Oh, yeah, totally. I
Yeah.
think for me, it was skateboarding. Like I was obsessed with, like there was this one trick, I had to get it.
Yeah.
Everyone else was like moving on to other things. And I was like, no. I need to figure this out.
It's so interesting how some things just click like that.
It is.
And I think this speaks to what the reflection talks about a little later, which is, you know, we have this drive, but then there's this kind of contradiction where teachers encourage exploration, but then also seem to favor certain styles or paths.
Right. Because it's almost like they're saying, hey, the playground's open. You can try all the equipment BUT, this slide over here, way better.
It's like, I'm not saying you have to,
Right.
but also.
Exactly. And it is tricky because it brings up the whole thing about taste being so subjective.
Yes. Especially in something like art, where what's amazing to one person
Right.
could be, you know.
Totally. One man's meat is another man's poison, as they say.
Exactly. Yeah. It makes you think about feedback even from experienced people. They're coming at it from their own lens,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's a good reminder for anyone receiving feedback that just because it resonates with someone, it doesn't mean it has to resonate with you.
Yeah. It's their experience.
Right.
It's not necessarily like a universal truth.
Totally. Yeah. And this actually leads to another key point the author brings up, which is the idea that even if you are a seasoned artist or teacher, you shouldn't try to like force your experience onto someone who's just starting out.
Oh, interesting.
Like just because you've been there, done that, it doesn't mean that the person you're teaching or mentoring needs to have the exact same experience.
Right. They talk about that.
Yeah. And they use this really great analogy. It's like, you know, when you've been to Disneyland a million times
Oh, yeah.
and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I've seen this, I've ridden that, you know, it's not as exciting anymore.
Yeah. You know where all the bathrooms are.
Right.
You know all the shortcuts.
But for someone who's experiencing it for the first time, it's still magical.
Right. You don't want to take that away.
Exactly. And it's the same with creative exploration.
So you're saying it's more about fostering that kind of letting it unfold naturally.
Exactly. It's about respecting the joy of discovery, the individual journey. And that actually connects back to this idea of intrinsic motivation,
Okay. Yeah, I see it.
which is so important for any kind of learning, but I think especially for creative stuff.
Because when it's coming from you, it's so much more powerful.
Yes. Because you're the one who's chosen it. You're the one who's driving it.
And even when you hit those roadblocks, you're more likely to push through because it matters to you.
Exactly. And that's what ultimately leads to developing your own unique style.
It's like each experiment, each different way of doing it, it's all part of the journey, not necessarily about like, this is the final product.
Yeah. And I think the author really emphasizes that it's okay to linger a little bit longer on one piece of playground equipment, so to speak, like to really get the most out of it before moving on to the next thing.
I love that. I mean, that's how we figure out what we like. It's like you said, trying all the different slides. It's been a good reminder, this whole conversation, that I think we forget sometimes, that trusting our gut is just as important as listening to, you know, the people we admire and,
Right.
you know, getting their feedback. So it's like, find that balance.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a balancing act, for
Yeah.
sure. But by staying open to guidance while also honoring your own instincts and interests, that's how you make it your own.
And that's how you really get the most out of the process, however it unfolds.
Exactly.
Awesome.